Hi guys, this is Erica from Gokche Capital. Now before I begin, be sure to click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. One evening, John accepted a job to bush hog a neighbor's yard. This job was to give him the scare of his life. What happened? We'll find out at the end of this video. But first, if you own a patch of unruly ground, you may need to bush hog it. And in today's video, we have the top things you should know. Number 1. What is a bush hog? A bush hog is a type of rotary motor that attaches to the back of a tractor using the 3-point hitch. It has blades that are not rigidly attached to the drive like a lawnmower, but are rather on hinges. This allows them to bounce backward or inward if they hit a rock or a stump. Now, technically, a bush hog is a brand name. The generic term for this kind of mower is a brush hog, but the two terms are often used interchangeably. Number 2. What is a bush hog used for? Bush hogging involves clearing lands of small trees and brush. You use a bush hog to brush cut or rough cut weeds and vegetation that are too large for a typical lawn mower. Here's a YouTube video of what a bush hog looks like. Number 3. When should you bush hog? As we just mentioned, bush hogging is generally done when vegetation is too tall or too unruly for a regular lawnmower. Circumstances where you may need to use a bush hog include when you've inherited unkept property or you have property that hasn't been maintained in a long time. If you want to use the land for a new purpose, such as buying raw land that you want to use for beekeeping or hunting. When you need to clear the land of all vegetation for construction, including building a fence or electric fence. When you are performing routine pasture maintenance, and if you want to keep a small meadow open on wooded property to serve as deer or wildlife habitat. Number 4. Should I bush hog myself or hire someone? Well, bush hogging can be dangerous, so it's generally a good idea to only bush hog yourself if you are familiar with the process. The blades on a bush hog can have top speeds of over 150 miles per hour. This means that rocks, stones, and debris hit by the mower can be thrown in excess of 300 feet. This is why we recommend you only hog if you are familiar with the process. For the same reason, you may find that many stores no longer rent bush hogging equipment. But if you have land that you know you will need to bush hog on a regular basis, it may be worthwhile to invest in the equipment. While a bush hog can cost thousands of dollars, compared with other kinds of agricultural equipment, it is relatively inexpensive. Just keep in mind that you will also need a tractor to pull the bush hog. Number 5. What are some tips for bush hogging? One of the most important things you can do is inspect the property ahead of time for debris, rocks, or other objects that can be thrown by the hog. You'll also want to decide how low to drop the blades based on the vegetation that is present. When mowing, mow slowly, both to avoid accidents and so that you don't have to double back on your work. In addition, while mowing, evaluate what you see and hear. Is your mower being overtaxed? Are there large fixed objects that could damage your mower? Is the temperature rising too much? Finally, perform basic maintenance on your machinery after every job to ensure problems don't go unchecked for long periods. This includes greasing all bearings, sharpening the blades if they are dull, replacing the blades when beaten, and regularly checking all bolts and fastenings. But now that we've covered the basics, let's return to John's bush hogging scare. John is a licensed contractor who on occasion bush hogs neighborhood yards as a side job. One evening, he accepted a gig to mow a small area near a couple of houses. The field was mostly blackberry vines and small trees, so it was difficult to see the ground when John conducted his walkthrough. Still, John did not notice anything to cause him concern, and he began the job. Yet a few passes in, John was jarred by an awful commotion. Behind him, the bush hog jumped high enough that John thought it would come unglued. Frightened, John shut off his tractor and assessed the damage. To his surprise, he found nothing of concern except a small chunk missing out of the end of one blade. There were no indications in the grass around him of what may have caused the disturbance. Yet, as he returned to the nearest house, he found the culprit. a 1/2-inch plate of steel lying in a driveway about 75 feet away. There was a big chip in the concrete and 3 deep gorges in the garage door at the top of the driveway. It seems John had hit the plate, which then flew 30 feet, slammed into the driveway, and bounced up to hit the garage door. The total distance from contact to resting place was 75 feet, and it was clear from the damage that the plate had traveled with enough speed to kill, which just goes to show how dangerous bush hogging can be. So if you plan on bush hogging yourself, make sure you are several hundred feet from all buildings and people. And if you accept money to bush hog for someone else, buy liability insurance first. But what happened to John? Well, it seems unlikely that he will ever bush hog for hire again. And hours later, when he sat down to write his story, he still had goosebumps. But what do you think? Do you have any stories about brush or bush hogging? Let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? You're going to love our Gokce Land Due Diligence program. We'll make you a land due diligence expert in just 7 days. Check it out at gokcecapital.com/glad. And while you're at our website, don't forget to explore our $1 down listings at gokcecapital.com/listings. Finally, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email, call, or text, and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, and more to come.